Incorporating even one group project into your course can deepen students' knowledge of course material, test their current level of expertise, and foster professional skills. For faculty, group projects can streamline communication, save time grading, and provide an opportunity to explore a breadth of topics in a single class. This video series on group projects will be in 3 parts: designing, facilitating, and assessing group projects. We'll start by guiding you on how to design a group project that will challenge your students and support their learning. We'll begin this video by reviewing how to write effective learning outcomes for individual students and their groups. Then we'll cover how to draft a reasonable timeline for your students. And finally, we'll provide recommendations on how to efficiently form your students into groups. First, you'll need learning outcomes. Outcomes are what you expect students to achieve by the conclusion of the project. Unlike individual assignments, group projects have several learning outcomes at once, including outcomes for groups and even the class as a whole. For example, the student outcome for this assignment is, at the conclusion of the project, each student will be able to articulate an income statement forecast and provide evidence. Whereas groups will give a presentation featuring key metrics to persuade investors. Finally, the class will evaluate investments and form a consensus on the best choice. If you're new to writing learning outcomes, I'd recommend checking out the ABCD method featured in our previous workshops. This helpful framework asks instructors to identify the audience, behavior, condition, and degree to which students will complete a task. For reference, I'll make sure to go ahead and link that workshop in the show notes below this video. A reminder that groups are best suited to projects with interdependent tasks, or in other words, tasks students can't successfully do alone. If you're struggling to come up with a group learning outcome, it may be an indication that a group project is not the best fit for the activity. At the beginning of our journey, we have our learning outcomes, and at its end, we can envision students' fulfillment of them. But what about everything in between? Plan ahead by drafting a timeline. To start drafting a timeline, you'll want to answer the following questions. When can this project start? When should it end by? What will be done during class time? When will students' deliverables be? How many will there be? When will students receive feedback? How many times? Let's walk through a sample timeline of a project that will last about 4 weeks in a 12-week course. The instructor has organized their timeline by weeks, what students will be doing during class time, and the deadline for groups to submit by. In week 1, students will bring their initial research findings to class and then discuss their outline in preparation for their first submission. Following this, groups will submit their outline by October 1st on Brightspace. Groups will receive feedback from their instructor within 5 days of submitting their projects. Groups can use this feedback to improve their next submission or bring questions about their feedback to office hours. If your students are managing multiple assignments and competing deadlines for your class, it's important to keep an updated timeline in a central location like your syllabus or a course schedule. See one featured here that a faculty member has pasted in their syllabus. When designing your timeline, a whole host of other questions are sure to crop up. In this section, we'll address common questions about the best way to set up groups. The first question that comes to mind is group size. Small groups are reported to have better intra-team communication and increased effort, thereby lessening the risk of students skirting responsibility or relying solely on the hard work of others. When a group has more than 5 members, its effectiveness drops. Best practice recommends creating groups of no more than 3 to 4 students. Smaller groups will maximize the potential of learning and amount of accountability students have for their share of the work. Now that you've decided the size of your groups, you'll want to sort your students. There are 3 methods to form groups, each of which has their own benefits and shortcomings. Your choice depends on what you want to prioritize. Randomly assigning students to a group is very efficient, but can lead to low heterogeneity. Allowing students to select their own groups gives them a high sense of satisfaction, but can also lead to more homogeneous pairings. Our final option gives the instructor the most autonomy, but is the least efficient. Instructor selection also takes away students' ability to exercise their own agency in this process. Ultimately, our recommendation is a hybrid approach. Allow students to choose a partner and then group the pairs. Use your best judgment to create heterogeneous groups with different skill sets and strengths so groups represent a mix of abilities. After forming and sorting your students into groups, you may be wondering, how should students submit their work? One easy way to streamline submissions is by leveraging the Groups tool in Brightspace. This tool allows one student per group to submit their draft on behalf of their team. To start setting up groups, begin by going to your Brightspace course site. From the top toolbar, you're going to want to go ahead and click More Tools, and then Groups from the drop-down. When you're ready, you can go ahead and click on the blue button titled New Category. Under category name, we're going to put the use case. So for here, I'll put Group Project. And then you'll want to enter the number of groups you want. It's a small class, so for this example, I'll just put in 3. You can customize any other settings to how you like, but for now, I'm going to go ahead and click Save. I'll click OK. And when you're ready, you'll want to create a new assignment in Brightspace and be sure to make it a group one. To learn more about using the Groups tool, I'd advise you to schedule a consultation with the Learning Science Lab. We can help you get started. Complete these 3 next steps to get started on your group project. Write individual and group learning outcomes. Draft a timeline with opportunities for feedback. Form groups of no more than 5 students. The smaller, the better. Together, learning outcomes, a flexible timeline, and proper setup will best prepare yourself and your students and produce successful group project results.